We, as a species, have long been obsessed with the void. Both the horror and the allure of deep, infinite blackness have captivated us since the beginning. And even today, we're striving to engineer black paint that simulates that void. For fountain pen people, that curiosity is also pretty popular. What is the blackest black ink? Well, I have a semi-educated guess, but I myself have been curious to see our most popular black fountain pen inks go head to head. So that's what I'm going to do today. And we will find out who the champion of the void, the regent of darkness, the master of the abyss truly is. All right, I've got my stuff. I've got bottles, I've got stuff to swab, I've got some cleaning stuff. We are going to get to swabbing some black inks. But first, let me just give you a little heads up of what I think I'm gonna do. This is gonna be a try to figure it out as we go sort of situation, but I know I'm going to rank these 1 to 10, with 10 being the blackest of the blacks, the most abyssal of inks I could find, and then one, a very dark gray, perhaps. I'm gonna start with Jacques Herbin Perle Noir. I'm gonna put this on a little piece of 80-gram Rhodia dot grid paper, as I will the rest, and we're just gonna eyeball it. You're gonna help me silently from where you're sitting, unable to communicate with me, and I'm going to judge your feeling as best I can. All right, so this isn't a super popular ink, but it has been around for a while and does have a solid following. I'm gonna use a sample and a cotton swab to get it done here, but I'm gonna leave them in for about 10 seconds, swab them, write the name, and we're gonna arrange it to where we think it's gonna be. I think that this one's gonna be a little bit more in the middle, but let's see. All right. Perle Noir. Okay, that is actually a pretty dark ink, especially at the top. I think all of these you're gonna see a little bit of a gradient from top to bottom. They're all gonna get a little less saturated, but that's gonna tell us a lot. Let's go ahead and temporarily put this in the number 5 position because we need to start somewhere, right? So Perle Noir is gonna chill out right there, and we're gonna move on to the next one. All right, next up is our best-selling black, which is Noodler's Black. This has been a super popular black since I can remember, since I've been here, and often asked if anything is blacker than this. So we're gonna give this a shot. I have a feeling this is going to be darker than Perle Noir, but not 100% on that. It's definitely more permanent. All right, Noodler's Black. Already you're seeing less of a gradient for sure. Compared, it definitely stays blacker longer than this part, but, and also it does definitely have a different shade. You're seeing a little bit more of a blue shade here, more of a, I don't know, a bluish gray, like a steel gray. Here, it just stays black all the way down. It just kind of becomes more of a light black than a dark gray, if that makes any sense. Let me write the name on it here, and then we'll move on. I have a pretty good idea of what I'm gonna do next too. It might be a little predictable. Noodler's Black. Some people call this bulletproof black. Oh, come on. There we go. Boom. All right, this is, I'm gonna say this is darker. I think it's more of a true black. I'll say that. So we're gonna go ahead and put this in the number 6 spot, since Perle Noir just randomly is occupying number 5. That looks like Noodler's Black now because the end screwed up. Noodler's Black. All right, that's fine. Moving on. Okay, it's this big guy next. Noodler's Heart of Darkness. And for quite some time, this has been the biggest competitor to Noodler's Black in terms of what people often considered Noodler's blackest black. And we're gonna find out. This one, it only comes in one of these larger 4.5 ounce bottles for some reason. Don't know why, but it is very black. It is super black. And I have compared them before in the past, and I really don't remember what my findings were. I think they were pretty similar. All right, HOD. The most dark of the hearts. Oh my. Well, okay, so this is different. You're definitely seeing, get out of here, Noir. You're definitely seeing it saturates differently. I think it absorbs. It's definitely drying faster because you can see it absorbs more into the paper. You're left with more of this kind of gritty texture than this. It's just more of a swabby, smeary texture. Initially, it looked more black, but as soon as it dried, you get less of it. So while it may be just as black, I think that Heart of Darkness dries a little bit faster, gets absorbed a little bit faster, so it just doesn't sit on the page quite as long, not long enough to get as deeply saturated as Noodler's Black does. All right, where are we gonna put this one? Noodler's is definitely ahead of Perle Noir here. I'm gonna move these bottles, they're not helping me out, because I'm gonna be moving a lot. So Noodler's definitely above Perle Noir, but is Heart of Darkness a blacker black? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say Noodler's Black gets it. And honestly, there's a part of me that's gonna actually put it behind Perle Noir. I think that Perle Noir looks to be more saturated. It's, I think it just keeps its depth a little longer than Heart of Darkness does. So we're gonna do that. I feel like that's what you'd want me to do. Next up, okay. Take-Sumi, which is an Iroshizuku ink. Didn't need to roll my R on that one. Iroshizuku. And Take-Sumi is the black ink of the Pilot Iroshizuku brand or collection. And it's a pretty dark ink. Not the darkest, but could compete with Heart of Darkness now that I'm seeing that. I was a little disappointed by Heart of Darkness, honestly. I thought it had more. Now I'm second guessing my rankings though, from Perle Noir and Heart of Darkness, because they're just different. I don't know. I might change my mind later. Anyway, Take-Sumi. Take-Sumi, right? Yeah, that's what it is. All right, let's see what Iroshizuku is bringing us here today. Pretty black, pretty black. Oh, very black, as a matter of fact. This looks a lot more like Perle Noir as in terms of kind of its tone of black. It has a little bit more of blue in it than the Noodler's inks do. But does that make it more black? I don't know. Let's write the name. So, Take-Sumi, where are you gonna rank? It does look like it kind of belongs right here in the middle. If I look at, I think it's definitely it's darker than Perle Noir. I still just am unsure of where I'm putting this. The saturation of this really gets me. So Heart of Darkness really absorbed into the paper, and it's not as deep as some of these. So I'm still gonna bump it back. I'm sorry, HOD, but Take-Sumi is gonna go above Perle Noir and right behind Noodler's Black. For no other reason other than the fact that one of you out there believes that. I'm just a servant of the people at this point. I'm a vessel for your feelings. Not really. But I think that's what we're gonna do. Moving on next. Okay, this one is, I know is going to be hard to beat. The Atramentis Document Black. Document inks are super permanent inks, and within the entire Atramentis line, this one is the most popular ink, not just the most popular black. I know it's a deep, deep black. It is waterproof. You can use watercolor over this, ink washes, you name it. It doesn't go anywhere. This was actually the champion of our waterproof ink contest that I did a couple years ago, a year ago, I don't know time, but it hung in there, and I recall it being super duper black. And yeah, I think this one's gonna be tough to beat, but we will see. All right, Atramentis Document Ink Black. Woo! That's black. That's very black. All right. It's right up there with Noodler's Black. I think that, oh, but is it darker? Yikes. That's a tough one. They look really similar. They really do. All right, Document Black, people. What are we gonna say? It's definitely darker than the rest of these. Do I think it is darker than Noodler's Black, though? I am gonna say no. I think that there's more space at the top of the Noodler swab that is just straight up blackness before you can start seeing these streaks, and there's just not as much of that on Document Black. So I'm going to keep Noodler's Black up in the top, even though that is a really, really dark black. And again, we're seeing this one being more of a true black than Take-Sumi and Perle Noir. These both have kind of a different tone than Heart of Darkness, Document Black, and Noodler's Black, which I find interesting. I wasn't really expecting to be thinking about tone as much today, but it's definitely there. And it's tripping me up a little bit because I don't know how to compare that or whether or not I should be taking tone into account. Anyway, we've got more to talk about, so let's do that. All right, we're gonna talk about LAMY Obsidian. This is one of their newer inks. I mean, by newer, I mean not one of the original lineup. This was part of their, the crystal inks. And I was surprised at how popular it became. It became one of our more popular blacks, which made it a little bit of a dark horse. So I wanted to give it a shot. I've actually never even used this ink before, so I'm curious. We're both gonna learn something here. Why am I using the bottle? We're using samples, Drew. Why didn't you tell me? Come on, man. Obsidian. There we go. Okay, moment of truth. How obsidian is obsidian? Wow. Okay. Okay, LAMY. Didn't expect that. That's not bad. That is not bad at all. It's a different tone. We're getting a different tone now. A new tone has entered the fight here. This one looks definitely more blue, but it's got almost a little bit of tealishness in it, which is interesting. Okay, oh, I'm making a mess of this dip pen. All right, LAMY Obsidian, where do you belong? I'm impressed. It's definitely plenty dark, but as it dries, I am seeing like how saturated it is up at the top. It's not going to take top spot. I don't know if things are getting tough now, y'all. Let's see. Let me compare it to Take-Sumi. Like, is it going to fall above 5 or below 5? We'll go from there after that. I think that, yes, I think it is a darker ink. So we're gonna do that. So we're going to put Take-Sumi right back there, move these up, and now Noodler's Black is going to get bumped down to row 2 here as we continue. I feel pretty good about that. Now, I'm still wondering my question. See, now that looks kind of like Heart of Darkness. What am I doing? Why is Heart of Darkness all the way down here? These look really similar. Oh my God. Okay, we might need to revisit this after they dry, because now as they're drying, I'm really losing it here, folks. Bear with me. The things aren't over yet. Things can move. We're gonna move them, but before we do, we're gonna move on to another ink. All right, TWSBI Black. Not one of the most famous blacks, but Brian K from the customer care team touts it, and he says, Drew, TWSBI Black is legit, my dude. So we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out if BK knows what he's talking about, because he thinks this is a dark horse of the black inks. I will say that I do love these bottles. These bottles come in a nicely presented box, and it has a cup separately from the ink that you can put in the ink bottle, so tip, and you can fill from the cup without having to go down all the way to the very bottom. So big fan of the actual bottles for sure. Let's see if I'm a big fan of TWSBI Black. I will say that the swabs on our site show it pretty darn saturated. Okay, so we're already seeing a little bit of a different tone here. It looks like a little bit more purpley, very black, very black. My goodness. Okay. Okay, TWSBI. Consider me surprised. You've got a darn good black in your collection here. Let's see. Boom. That's loud. I like it. Okay. Y'all, this is a heavy-duty black. This might actually be blacker than Noodler's black. I'm just gonna say that right now for the sake of time. Because look at the bottom. Like, this is way more, the bottom is way more like the top in TWSBI Black than it is on Noodler's Black. There's a big difference at the bottom of Noodler's Black than there is at the top of Noodler's Black. So I'm just gonna use that as my qualifier at this moment and put that ahead. It is top right now. Who'd have thunk it? Not me. All right. I might be changing my mind later, but cross the bridge when we get there. Next, Sailor has a few pigmented inks. One is Kiwaguro, and that is their black pigmented ink. They also have blue and anyway, pigmented inks are traditionally more dense, deep, saturated than, you know, dye and water-based ink, which is what the rest of these have been. So there's a good chance that we could see something really, really deep and saturated. I've used this ink before. I love it. It, to me, looks almost matte, like it's not a shiny ink. I don't know, that might just be in my head, but that's what I think it looks like. And that's why I've inked it up several times, and I do enjoy it. Kind of like Carbon Black by Platinum. Both of them, in my opinion, kind of have a more flat look to them, which I like. But, I don't know. We'll see. So, Kiwaguro. And it's black. It's definitely black, but it definitely dries out a bit. It looks a lot like Noodler's Black, actually. Quite a lot. But it's drying differently. It's already drying differently. You're already seeing it absorb fairly quickly. And that has a lot to do with it. A lot of saturation, you know, ongoing saturation anyway, has to do with how quickly it absorbs into the paper. So this might be different if we were using something super absorbent like Tomoe River. I did not use Tomoe River paper for this video though, because I thought that just to gauge blackness, everything would be sitting on top of the paper and would never dry, and I kind of wanted it to be a little absorbent just so I could make a decision a little easier, so we did. Pigmented, Kiwaguro. Let me write something down. Perhaps I'll write Kiwa, perhaps I'll write Guro. Perhaps I will write it like they're two words. Wow, that is terrible. Okay. Be patient with me. All right, now ranking. Where is it going to go? What do you think? I don't know. Let's see. I don't think it's as deep as Noodler's, as TWSBI Black. So we're already going to do that. Now, I do think that it is more consistent from top to bottom than Noodler's Black. Noodler's Black, I think right here is lighter than right here on Kiwaguro. So I'm going to do this. I feel so confident about it. No. All right, Platinum. Platinum Carbon Black. It is here. It is a super popular ink, perhaps Platinum's most popular ink, and it is dense. It is very permanent. I've used it quite a bit. I love it. It is very black. It's not pigmented like, wait, no, is it pigmented? No, it's not pigmented like Kiwaguro. I don't think so. Oh gosh, am I wrong? Anyway, I know it's black. It's super black, super dense. And we're gonna find out if it can compete not only with the rest of the inks, but with Kiwaguro, because that's its cousin. Its pigmented cousin.
Yes, it is pigmented.
It is pigmented. Ha!
This just in.
This just in. They're both pigmented. So, is it more pigmented than Kiwaguro? I don't know. I thought it might have been, because it's super black. It's like that. It's that dense black that you get with pigmented inks. I think Document Black might be pigmented too. All right, here we go. Moment of truth. Carbonius Blackius. Ooh. All right. As I've said before, it's black. But how black is it? We're gonna find out, y'all. Oh gosh, what a mess.
Black, not pigmented.
Document Black is not pigmented. Thank you, correspondent in the field. All right, Carbon Black from Platinum. Where does it lie? It's not as dark as TWSBI. No, it's not. It's not. Is TWSBI Black really up at the top? What the heck? I was not ready for that. All right, it is quite similar to Kiwaguro. Oh, interesting. Why do we have both of these? They're similar. They're really similar. Okay. I am gonna, oh golly, y'all. I don't know. They look identical. What the heck, Sailor? Come on now. You know what? The only thing I can say is that it got a little brushy there toward the end, and Carbon didn't. So, yeah. I'm gonna just say that, because you see it fading less. That could have just been the type of cotton swab. I don't know, but I have to say one thing, so we're gonna say this. TWSBI Black, seriously? Are you the blackest black? What on earth? That's kind of nuts. Now, Noodler's at its most saturated is super black. Like when it is just laid on thick, it's probably the most black of all of these. But thinned out a little bit, and different pens are gonna do different things. That's the thing. So it's important to gauge what's up at the top at its most saturated and what's at the bottom when it's a little weaker, because pens have different types of flow and every pen is different. You might get what's at the top of some of these swabs in your pen, or your pen might produce something a little bit more similar to what's at the bottom of these swabs. So I am taking that into account for what I think is a good reason. And based on that, I'm pretty happy with the way this is set up. I will say that Heart of Darkness might need to get bumped up a little bit because it is very consistent from top to bottom, whereas Perle Noir is not. I'm gonna actually bring down Perle Noir and Take-Sumi and bring Heart of Darkness up into this spot at number 3 here. Obsidian, it's so hard because these look like just different colors because Obsidian has this blue hue to it. I'm having a hard time gauging this one.
Black. Is it black or is it?
Is it black? Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, maybe, you know what? Maybe it loses points for just not being a true black. So you know what? We're gonna bump Heart of Darkness down a little bit. Now it is. Oh man, you know what? I'm gonna put Obsidian all the way down to the bottom. All right, that is a good thing. It's just not as black. It's got some blue in it, so we're gonna deduct some points based on that. All right, so these two are so similar. I think Document Black's a little bit darker than Heart of Darkness. I feel good about this. But you might have been thinking, Drew, there's one ink, also made by Platinum, that very strongly and confidently claims to be the blackest of all the blacks. And yes, that's true. That is Kuro. And this ink, this is like the gifts that they first came out with. They don't come in this thing anymore. But this ink is super black. It's like Platinum Black, but extra. Quite extra. And we're going to give it a try. Now, we don't even sell these as samples because this is a super expensive bottle of ink. So I took this from Brian's shelf over there. I'm pretty sure he'd be cool with that. So let's see. I didn't want to jump right on this one from the beginning because A, it's probably going to be the blackest, and B, it's not, you know, they say you should only be using this pen or this ink with, you should only be cleaning this pen with distilled water. And to me, that's like, that's extra. That's like, it puts it in a different league. So I wanted to first look at inks that are traditionally, you know, non-special maintenance wise good for your pen. And then of course, bring in this monster. So we're gonna do that now. I'm expecting it to wipe the floor with the rest of these, but TWSBI Black, y'all, the legit dark horse. BK was right. I gotta go out and give him a high five for that one. That was a sleeper. So we'll see. Maybe TWSBI Black has its Rocky moment and dethrones the champ here, or what I would have thought the champ would have been. All right, Kuro. All right, this is very, very black. We're gonna see how it dries. I'm not gonna say that this is a definite thing just yet. All right. So, yeah, right? It is. Okay. That's definitely the blackest black. It's closer than I thought it would be, though. I will say that. TWSBI Black was very surprising to me. I definitely think that these two are the blackest blacks. I'm floored at the fact that I think that... Now, saturation-wise, Carbon and TWSBI are quite similar. But the depth of blackness is more prevalent, I think, in TWSBI Black. So both of them do a great job in not fading super quickly. But TWSBI Black is just more black, in my opinion. Kuro, though, is just the abyss. It is the literal void. And that one, we're going to have to tip our hat to that one. It remains the champ. But it's also like 3, 4, 5 times the price of TWSBI Black, and you get less ink. So as far as a normal ink goes, that is a realistic price. I think that I'm going to call this the champ, just because I think that it overcame a lot. It's just affordably priced. So you get 70 mils here. This one is, what was it, 60, I think, 60 ml. Yeah, 60 cc's, yeah. So you get more, and it's cheaper, and it's pretty much just as black without any funky maintenance. Now, granted, nothing bad is going to happen if you try to clean your pen without distilled water in this. I've tested it. It works fine with tap water, but tap water is different across the world, so there is that factor. I do think that you need to have clean water when you use this. So if you didn't want to worry about any of those variables, TWSBI Black. Perhaps you know of one that I don't know of. I would love to hear from you. Now I'm doubting myself, but that's great. That's fine. I love learning, and hopefully you learned a little something too. Either way, I had fun. If you want me to rank more stuff, let me know. Hopefully my confusing, arbitrary approach is not a complete turn off, because I could do this all day. Either way, thanks.